There we are. And that should give you some idea of what the overall appearance is going to be. I kind of like that. I really do. Well, getting back to it after spending most of the week messing around with other projects that didn't involve the car, working on my house, did some stuff for my son's house, etc., etc. What I finally figured out though is that I'm going to hold this gap, I think, at about 1 3/4 inches all the way down, all the way to the front, and that will give me a good parallel line running right along here so that my skirt on the side will fit without the fender being twisted too much by narrowing this up. The other thing I'm working on is the inner sheet metal at the rear of the fender here, and getting this line to run straight because it was curved in before and this metal was too thick, so I've cut a bunch of that out. I've welded in a new section, and once that new section's welded to the inner part of the car, this should come out just about perfect. Well, I've pulled the fenders off, got them up here on the table. This is the fender that was on the driver's side. This is the one that I've already reworked somewhat. Got it smoothed out so a tire can go past it without catching on the metal. And also gotten rid of a little bit of the extra metal in here so that this is thin enough to be able to work it and get it to the contour that I want. So all I got to do now is cardboard template, cut out a little bit of excess metal, and it'll look like something like that. Something like that, maybe, sort of. A little marking, a little cutting, and we're getting pretty close to what we need. All I have to do now is make that out of sheet metal, weld it in place. It'll look just like that, I hope. I have to be honest, once again, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just doing what I saw in a YouTube video. If in doubt, hit it harder. It's got to work. I don't think I saw that in a YouTube video though. Remember, it's safety third until you almost cut off a finger. Come on. All right. Hey, that ain't the same piece. There we go. That's the same piece. Looks something like it. Little curve. I cut a little to that side of the lines here so I can shape those the last little bit that I need. And then we just work the curve, work the last little bit right there, and it'll fit. I know it will. Well, the other one fits, so this one should. Maybe. But will it drift? Well, I screwed that up. This thing don't have much power. Well, we are really quite close here. I don't know if the camera could pick that little scribe line up right there. That little scribe line where I cut outside the line. Once that's gone, that'll get rid of this gap up here or get rid of this overlap down here, whichever way you want to look at it. And then we can throw a couple tack welds on it maybe. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. Just like that, we've got a metal panel ready to be spot welded in place. The purpose of this panel is to, of course, fix all these little problems here, but it's to give me something right back here to weld this to the wheel well inside the car so that I've got a place to start with when I finish this sheet metal along there. So All we gotta do is tack it in place. All right. Will it weld or will I blow a hole in it? Ta-da! One spot weld. 6,500 more to go. Another minor readjustment, another flat area between the two pieces of metal, and hey, what happened there? Ground ain't very solid, but two spot welds. I don't want you to feel left out, even though I did leave you out of a lot of this stuff because it's so fun. But that's the cardboard template, and this is the start of the metal part. And this part's only function is going to be to stabilize this inner quarter panel so that it holds this outer part out far enough so it doesn't rub on the tire at nearly full compression. So yeah, a little bit more work on that. I'll tack that in place, and that'll be one more little piece of metal done. All right, I've dropped it back down on the ground. I've got my brace welded in there. Maybe you can see it through that hole, I don't know. Anyway, it's welded in place. It's holding the fender out. Fender's not hitting the tire. I can run this all the way along there and it doesn't drag. This is just the first step in getting the outer fender to have the exact clearance it needs, but that's the main part of it. I could actually roll the car around now without it rubbing on the tire. Got a lot more work to do up here yet. Right now the wheel is about 2 inches higher up in here than what it normally would be. I've lowered the coil springs down so the top edge of that rim of the wheel would be right about here. Tire will be down a little bit. So basically what I'm doing is setting it to about 2 inches of compression, making sure it has full clearance at a little bit of compression. Hopefully that works. I'm not sure. We'll see. Smooth on the inside of the fender well, so it won't tear the tires up too bad if they do rub. Thank you for tuning in to more fun with fenders. Oh, this is the Head Saver 3000 right there. You back into that sharp metal about once or twice, you decide you're going to cover it up with something. Anyway, we're pressing on. We're going to have a little bit of clearance for our tires when we set this thing on the ground. All right, I have my template for the other side. I've got my spacing for my tire with the tire compressed all the way up in there. Everything seems to be about right, and my AC is running, so I get to stay out in the shop even though it's 100 degrees outside. Probably a little humming in the background, but necessary evil. So we're going to see if the template from the other side fits, and I already know this, it fits perfectly. Whoever put that suspension chassis underneath there to hold that suspension got it right. Must have been completely by accident. 81 degrees may not seem like it's that cool, but it's a lot cooler than it is outside. And with a fan, it's fine. So I have my spacer in place. I didn't get any video of actually putting it in place, but it's in there. Got plenty of space here at ride height or thereabouts. And when I get some spring compression, I still have enough room to slide this through. It's a little snug right here, but that's 1/8 of an inch thick, so at least the tire's not rubbing on the fender, which I absolutely do not want to happen. My next step is to figure out what needs to be put in behind this quarter panel before I weld it in place. Some of the stuff is going to be very difficult to get to once it's welded in place, like this spacer that goes right here at the front of the quarter panel to hold the space for the air intake and to make it a little stiffer so that if somebody leans on it, it doesn't collapse. So I need to get that made, put it in place, and cover this hole, because that'll be a lot easier to do sitting on a table than it will be hanging on the car. If I can get this battery hooked up, we'll find out if it'll crank. Yeah, close enough. Well, that wraps this video up. Give that YouTube algorithm a little bit of a push. Give this thing a thumbs up. Let's see how many more viewers this video gets with a few thumbs up. Thanks for watching. In neutral, we got power. I heard a fuel pump. May take a couple tries to get feel to it. Next video will probably be mounting the transmission cooler. I've started work on the inner fenders, or at least looking at how I'm going to put it in, and it seems that that should be the next thing, so I can work on those brackets before I get a bunch of sheet metal in the way and make it more difficult to do. Alright, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and as always, thanks for watching.